This episode is proudly supported by Westholme Australian Wagyu. Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and the Northern Territory, Australia, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. They steward 16 million acres of rangeland, guided by the natural ecosystem where cattle graze and forage on native grasses for the first few years of their lives. The result is high-quality Wagyu beef that reflects the terroir of Northern Australia. Westholme believe that when nature leads, flavour follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
That's exactly what we and other small farmers like us are doing every day, all over the place, all over the world. We are growing really good quality food that sometimes I think we may be at risk, if we're not careful, of taking for granted, because it's just what we do.
This is The Producers. I'm Dani Valent. Welcome to the final episode in our mini-series collaboration between Producers Podcast and AgriCultured, a festival which showcases and connects the produce and people of Northern Tasmania, or Lutruwita as it's called in Aboriginal culture. So far, we've heard from duck farmer Bec Rumble, vegetable grower Wouter Sels, winemaker Linda Morice, and today we're chatting to Annette Reed from Tasmanian Natural Garlic and Tomatoes. With her husband Nevil, Annette farms tomatoes and garlic half an hour from Launceston.
Okay, so I'm Annette Reed, Tasmanian Natural Garlic and Tomatoes, and together with my husband Nevil, we grow essentially tomatoes and garlic and a few other things. So we're at Selburne, so we're about half an hour out of Launceston. Nevil and I have been here since 1987 on what was initially a bush block, and so everything that you see here we've done over the last 35, nearly 40 years. It's really good, for the most part, nice red, loamy soil, cold. We're a bit odd in that we're farming something very summery like tomatoes in a very frost-prone area, so we could have frost here any time through the year. So other than that, we're doing garlic as well, which loves the frost and loves the cold. We started off here when we first bought this place. We actually come from quite close by, so I come from about 8 k's away from here. We were looking for a place in the area near our parents, near our families, so we came across this place, and initially we were going to do cattle because that's what we knew, that's what we came from. Didn't really work on a place as small as this. It was very hard on the ground with the small bit of ground that we had cleared. We moved into truffles. We were one of the very first truffle growers in Tasmania. Then we moved into sheep and tried a few other things along the way. And in the end, we got to the tomatoes and garlic in that we'd been through a few pretty big family crises, and we were looking for something to bring the farm back to health because it had kind of been neglected, and we wanted something that the two of us could do together, small scale, between our other work. As it turned out, within not very many years, it was bigger than we could handle after work and on the weekends, and the two of us have been farming here full-time together for the last 10 years.
Garlic is a straightforward crop with clear stages through the seasons. Tomatoes are more complicated. There's always something to do, and as the seasons go by, it's hard to tell which is the beginning and which is the end.
Garlic's pretty easy, straightforward. Nevil wouldn't say it's easy, but straightforward in that its season is pretty clearly set out. It's planting in April to June, so autumn plant to sit in the ground over winter, to harvest from late November through to mid-January, depending on what cultivars we've got. And then we sell fresh garlic and then we start all over again. So that's the garlic side of things. The tomato side of things is more, tends to be more of an all year round thing, although we only grow seasonally. So our fresh produce is only from the beginning of January through to, say, early May. The process itself is all year round. So while we are doing the and it's hard to say where the start and where the finish is. So I'm going to say that the 1st of August is the start, and that's our seeding program. That's where we start planting our seeds for the coming season. And we will start with, first of all, we'll have a seedling sale, a big seedling sale in October, and then and also take our own seedlings from that to plant. So we'll get our seedlings in the ground by about early October through to early November. We'll then have our fruit coming on in early January through to about May, and somewhere from about March onwards we'll be seeding, collecting seed for the next season and beyond. So it's kind of never ending. And in the middle of all that, it's clean up and start all over again.
Tomatoes and garlic may sound quite simple, but there are lots of varieties to choose from. The Reed's garlic crop has been more or less narrowed down to 6 or 8 cultivars, dominated by Tasmanian purple garlic. Tomatoes are another story. It's something of an embarrassment of riches.
So we're now down to, starting with garlic, we used to do about 15. We've cut that back quite significantly because, well, for a number of reasons, we've struggled with some that just haven't thrived here, and garlic can be really fickle. So now our main cultivar would have to be Tasmanian purple. It does well here. It's, in my view, it's got not many things going against it. It's a beautiful flavoured garlic. It's really easy to use in the kitchen. It's easy to peel. Nice big fat cloves. Its only downside is that it's got a short shelf life, so it's only 5 to 6 months. So we have other cultivars that fall into mid-season or late season so far as their storage goes. Some including Rojo de Castro and Locke that can last up to 9 to 12 months depending on storage. Dungansky falls somewhere there in the middle. So we now have about 6 or 8 different garlic cultivars that stretch throughout the season. Tomato-wise, where do I start? I'm still trying to work out my list for this year, and it's a really difficult job because I'm trying to get a good range. I'm trying to get a good size range, good flavour range, use range, colour range. When you take in all those things, it's really hard to sort of choose. And then which are my favourites and which ones do I have to grow this year? So we have about 300 odd varieties in our seed bank, and we grow about 150 each year. And so it's a huge variety.
When you look around the Reed's farm, you see a lot of polytunnels, so it's not exactly clear where the plants grow. But hydroponics has never been a preference. They're committed to growing in the ground.
Yes, we do only grow in the soil. So when we started back in 2010, our first crop was outside, and it was great. It was wonderful. We thought, gee, we're really good at this. And then we got hit by a frost in early March, and it wiped out our crop. And that taught us very early on that we've got to look at if we're going to do this, we've got to find a better way to do it. It was suggested to us that we go hydroponically and glass houses and hydroponics, and we knew instinctively that was not the way we wanted to go. We were sure that there was something extra special about growing in the ground. We know that. So that was never a question. That's the way we've gone ever since. We then moved on to little cloches and grew that way for a little while. 2015, 16, we put in our first polytunnel, and we've just been gradually building more and more since then. So now, and for the last few years, everything has been grown in the soil, but under cover, so in polytunnels, purely for protection and to extend the season just a little bit.
Soil is key to the farm's success, so there's plenty of work that goes into its health. Annette explains the lengths they go to make the dirt delicious for their plants.
One of the things about the way that we grow here, the way we grow our tomatoes, is we would always say to people, if you can move your tomatoes from one spot to another each year, you do that. We don't have that luxury. So soil health to us is absolutely everything, because we're growing in the same ground year in, year out. Some of those tunnels, we can't even get full fresh air to them. They'll be covered all year round. So we have to take a lot of measures to make sure that soil remains super healthy all the time. So first principle is we will always do our soil tests every year, make sure that of what we need, what's missing, and so on, and that's our starting point. We will clean the tunnels out well. Nevil always puts in a green manure crop over the winter, so that's growing nicely at the moment, and that will stay there. And that's, for the most part, it's mustard, and that will act as a biofumigant in late September when it's cut down, chopped in, and turned into the soil in readiness for planting. So, and then there's a lot of other stuff along the way. So we've also got alongside our tunnels some insectaries in the form of native plants that we've planted to allow beneficial insects to live and hibernate over winter and just be there to help us manage other pests. So a whole range of things that we do, all with the aim of keeping that soil really, really healthy. And of course, if there's anything wrong with any tomato, as much as I would love to hang on to it and see if it might recover, no, the rule is if it's not looking good, it comes out. Yeah.
There are so many things to do at the farm, but what makes a good day for Annette?
Oh, a good day. Nice weather, not too hot. A good night's sleep the night before. Really depends on the time of year. We both have our preferences for what we like to do. A good day working on the farm for me, I love pruning tomatoes, especially early on in the season. It can get a bit dreary months down the track, but early on, just being able to sit in the tunnels and do a job where you can see that a real difference has been made, that's a good day. A good day also is when you have a good tomato pick and you come in with 150, 200 kilos of tomatoes that you picked and they all just look fabulous and you know they're going to be out by next morning off to customers. That's pretty satisfying. So a whole range of things.
So we know what Annette likes, but what about Nevil? What does he love on the farm?
More and more we've got into teaching other people, and he runs a number of workshops on building polytunnels for people on a low budget. He does workshops on tomato and garlic care, and he's really good at that stuff. He's good at putting across what he knows well to other people and being able to help other people. So he's also, I don't know whether it's what he likes, but I can't say for Nevil what he likes most, but I know what he's good at, and he is really handy at coming up with the most amazing inventions just to make life easier. So where I'll battle over something, he will go off and make some contraption that I complain about but that works, and I have to then swallow my words and go along with it. So, he's just good at seeing a problem and finding an answer quickly.
Family farms can be joyful, but they can also be complicated. What are the ins and outs for the Reeds?
Different now to how it was many years ago. We have 5 children, so all of our children have left home now. We had 5 workers back then, so we've lost them and it's now all on our own. Look, I love it. I'm hesitating here, trying to think of what it's like to run a family farm. We run a few community things here on the farm. Up until this year, we had hosted the Tasmanian Garlic and Tomato Festival, and I think one of my greatest joys is seeing my grandkids come along here and just waltz around the place as if they own it, and seeing all the customers come, and that I just think, that's a wonderful thing about having a family farm. Our kids all grew up here on the farm and all very much appreciate the work that goes into farming. They appreciate the work that their parents do and have done. There's a lot of stuff that kids learn that, I don't know, that just, I have to say, in a way sets them apart from other kids. They have to grow up in a lot of ways very quickly, and not in bad ways either, ways that really set them up for life. And I can see that in my kids, and I'm really proud of our kids and what they can do, what they do, how they see the world, how they treat other people. And I think so much of that comes from the values that we've given them here on having to work side by side for a common good on the farm. And they certainly appreciate their food and where it comes from.
There are farms of various sizes in northern Tasmania, but this one is small compared to many. What is special about small farms?
Small farms, I think, diversity would be the big word that comes to mind. I get really upset, I think is a good word, when I see the monocultures that spring out of large single item enterprises. I'm surrounded by them here. We have plantation forest all around us, right next to our native forest, and just the look is, on a bigger scale, just thinking of it that way. But I think there's so much that comes with small farms and having to be so, we farm very intensively. It is hard work. There's no getting around that. We can't skip corners. We can't do anything broad acre. We're on 40 hectares here, and so we have to get down close and personal with our farm and every single part of it. But I think that also has us appreciating the finer detail that I don't know that you can appreciate in the same way when you're putting in a 200 acre, 500 acre paddock of wheat that all looks the same. I don't know. I'm trying to be really diplomatic here. I know some broadacre farmers, quite a few, and I'm trying to be really careful about not, about what I say. So,
Annette and Nevil put everything into their farm. They know the soil, the seeds, the shoots, the leaves and the fruit. As small farmers, they can't compete on price. So what is the extra value that they offer?
It has been prepared with care. It has been, it has been prepared. It's been grown with, dare I say that word, passion. We put so much of ourselves into every single step of what we do. We can't compete with big commodity items. We can't compete in the world of the supermarket. We've got to be constantly doing absolutely everything on our own, from go to woe in the whole process of production. Whether that's the office work that we're doing in there, whether it's the soil preparation, whether it's the picking, the packing, the finding the customers, the delivery, the invoice, whatever it happens to be, we know it all intimately. And I think the other thing that small farmers give that larger farms can't, just because of the way they operate. You've only got to go to a farmer's market and see the way that our customers get to know the products that we can take to them and explain to them, where we can talk to them one-on-one and answer their questions, and they not only fall in love with what we're doing, but they fall in love with the flavours of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and they get it. You can't do that. You can't get that close to people in a broadacre context. It's got to come from the small farmers who are living, eating, dreaming, sleeping, working the minutiae of everything that they're growing.
Growing the produce is crucial, but the whole project falls down if it doesn't get to market. How do Annette and Nevil sell tomatoes and garlic?
Okay, so for us it's a number of things. It's our main customers are, our bread and butter is the local farmers market, so Launceston Harvest Market. Beyond that, we are very much a high-end product. So I had a customer on the phone the other day who wanted something from me, and he said, can you do it at Bunnings prices? And I said, well, I'm not Bunnings. If you want that, you go to Bunnings. Because what we will give you is not what Bunnings... We can give you what Bunnings can't. And it's the same for the supermarkets. You know, there's no point us trying to sell into major supermarkets. We don't have the quantity, but what we do have is the quality and the know-how and the knowledge and about that product, that specific product that we grow. So we sell into high-end restaurants, into cafes, and also on farm here to customers who know what we do and love what we do. So, and a little bit of online too.
One of the highlights of growing produce and selling it locally is that Annette and Nevil see their produce on menus and in restaurants. Do they ever get to taste it?
Yeah, quite recently actually, over summer. So I went to a local restaurant here. I'll name the restaurant. It was Tamba actually. We sell our tomatoes among other things there to them, and I know the chef. He didn't know I was coming, but I went to lunch and he did me an extra little tomato dish on the side and brought it out, and yeah, it's pretty thrilling to actually sit and see what and taste and see what somebody else has done with your product, and not want to be able to say to everyone in the restaurant, hey, I grew this. At our last garlic and tomato festival that we had here, Annalise Gregory was our guest chef, and she came along and prepared a tomato dish that she's actually named after me, which was really nice. And I didn't get to taste it, but I heard some pretty amazing comments about it, and it's kind of, it's just, it gives you a real buzz. It's really special to think that people, not only people of Annalisa's calibre, but just your everyday customer thinks that highly of your product that they want to keep coming back for it, that they will travel for it, that they will say the things that they say about it. It's the thing that keeps small farmers going too. It's hearing that feedback and seeing what wonderful things chefs and others are doing with our products.
Who better to ask than a tomato farmer how to prepare tomatoes? What does Annette like to do with her produce?
Simple. Simple dishes. I have favourites that are my, that I whip up in 2 seconds. I'm not a fancy cook. I don't have time, and I think I'm too tired. But if I have a simple tomato dish, I've got a couple, but I think one that we eat time and time again. No, there's two. One is just simply sliced tomatoes with a little bit of mozzarella and some salt and pepper and a bit of basil on a piece of really nice sourdough toast. That's a pretty good lunch. And the other one, when I've got plenty of cherry tomatoes left over, I'll bung them all in a pot with a bit of olive oil and a little bit of rosemary or something, and I'll just boil them right down and until I get this beautiful sauce that is thick and sweet, and then I'll whack it on some pasta and put a bit of cheese on, and I just love it. Just love it, yeah.
Annette and Nevil have spent their whole lives on farms, but what is it they love most about what they do?
We're both, I say farm kids. We're not kids anymore, but, kids at heart. We've both come from farms. I couldn't think of ever wanting to live anywhere else. I love seeing this place that we have grown and developed over many years through many heartaches and difficult times, being able to give us what it does. I love having people come here and seeing what a beautiful place we've got and what we're doing. I love getting my hands dirty. I love doing other things too. Apart from getting my hands dirty, I have to do both. But there's something about just making yourself tired, wearing yourself out with hard physical work. It's a good feeling. I've rarely known anything else in my life. It's interesting, that's how I've grown up. I remember once hearing somebody raving about some lamb that another small farmer had grown and was producing, and they're saying, this is the best lamb. And I remember having some of this lamb one day and going, oh, that's lamb. And not being particularly excited about it. But then I realised down the track that that's because that's just what I know. That's good food. And that person was growing really nice, producing really nice lamb. But, that's what comes from, that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we and other small farmers like us are doing every day, all over the place, all over the world. We are growing really good quality food that sometimes I think we may be at risk, if we're not careful, of taking for granted, because it's just what we do.
Tasmanian Natural Garlic and Tomatoes is a small farm run by Annette and Nevil Reed. They run it with passion, pride and commitment. and love showcasing the benefits and beauty of small farms to their community of food lovers and chefs. It's hard work, but it's satisfying. A life lived with purpose in northern Tasmania. For this final episode of our third series in collaboration with AgriCultured, we say a special thanks to everyone we've interviewed. Thanks also to Massimo Mele, Thomas Perker and the whole team at Grain of the Silos in Launceston. Gratitude also to the AgriCultured team and Biz Sattler for having us on board. We hope to be back in your ears next year with more stories from the land. This is The Producers, a Deep in the Weeds production. I'm Dani Valent. Stay tuned as we talk to some of Australia's best farmers, makers and growers. Follow us on Instagram at Producers Podcast or contact us via deepintheweeds.com.au.